One of the world's most powerful superheroes is one of those people that will just always do the right thing. With his power, his incredible ability to wave his hand and manipulate matter, transforming it into anything, he could become a god on Earth. And yet the only thing that Transforming Man wanted to do was help people. Yes, his powers had limitations. He had to be focusing really hard to change a matter's properties. But still, over the years, Transforming Man developed an amazing reputation among not just the people of his city that he protected, but the entire world. Everybody just totally loved Transforming Man. And the person who loved him the most was Riley. See, Riley didn't see Transforming Man, the world's famous superhero, as the giant figure that he was. No, she just saw him as her dad. And every night, no matter how late it was, no matter if he'd been gone for 2 weeks fighting a super criminal, Transforming Man always came back home, and he always looked in on Riley to make sure that she was still sleeping, having a good night's rest. "I love you more than you know," Transforming Man said. "You will be a better superhero than I ever was." And it was true, because even though Transforming Man could transform matter, turn the air around him into a giant shield to block a blow, or launch himself off the ground by turning the ground he was standing on into hyper-reactive, spongy matter, Riley could do even more. Riley didn't need to focus to change properties. And, in fact, her abilities were so strong that she attracted the interests of someone that Transforming Man never wanted to see again. Transforming Man conjured a giant crystalline blade out of the air and launched it with all of his might towards the roaring kaiju. The kaiju crashed the crystal aside, and the people of the city screamed in pain as the kaiju got closer and closer to its shore. It was only 20 feet away from the shore, and Transforming Man knew he had to do something. He thought, what can I transform in the area? The air wasn't working. The water the kaiju's in. He focused with all of his might, turning the water into steel around the kaiju's feet. The kaiju tried to pull its feet out, but it roared its lizard rage. "I got you," Transforming Man said. He transformed the steel into fire and burned the kaiju's feet. It roared in rage, and Transforming Man smiled. He pointed the direction back towards the ocean. "You want me to fight you?" Transforming Man said. "I'll fight you." The kaiju roared. He knew that kaijus, when they came from deep within the ocean, had only one thing on their mind: to take revenge against humanity for ravaging their natural world. And so even though the kaiju's feet were burned, even though it was buffeted, Transforming Man knew this would be a fight to the death. He thought about Riley, how she loved animals, how he took her to see the crocodiles at the zoo. "I'm sorry, baby," Transforming Man said, and he focused on the scales of the kaiju as it stepped closer and closer. The kaiju conjured a giant blast of energy. It was about to shoot the energy straight at Transforming Man when Transforming Man turned the energy in its mouth into toxic acid. The kaiju choked on the acid, choked, gurgling. It screamed in rage and fell into the ocean, creating a giant tidal wave. "Hold on," Transforming Man said. He waved his hand, transforming the water into air, and every citizen of the city cheered. Transforming Man waved. He signed a couple of autographs, but then he had to go. He was late to see Riley. He missed her. He turned the ground to ice in front of him and speed skated as fast as he could home. He was thinking about maybe catching her before she went to sleep, but at least he wanted to know if she was okay. When he came up to his apartment building and looked into Riley's door, though, his stomach filled with ice. "Riley?" Transforming Man said. He looked around her room, but he couldn't find anything. "Riley!" Transforming Man said. He screamed, looking in his bedroom, looking everywhere, but she was gone, just like her mother was gone, captured. And Transforming Man had a feeling, even though the supervillain that haunted him, that he still had nightmares about, was dead, that the supervillain had somehow returned. When he went into Riley's room and looked at her pillow, he saw something that made his stomach fill with fire. He saw a note, and he knew that his worst fear was true. "You know where she is. Come and get her," the note said. Transforming Man turned the wall of his building into water and jumped out, turning it into ice, skating down as fast as he could. His eyes filled with rage as he kept going faster and faster towards the cave that should have nothing in it. The cave that he destroyed, turned into grains of sand so nothing could come out. The cave that he got his superpowers in. Atomizer's cave. When he went there, the cave was completely intact, like a relic of lost time, but that was impossible. "Riley," Transforming Man said, yelling into the cave. But the cave said nothing. It felt like the cave was watching him somehow, waiting for him to come home. But Transforming Man knew this was impossible. This cave was a recreation. Yes, 1-for-1, but he had made sure that the Atomizer's cave was nowhere to be found. The Atomizer was, well, he could do the same thing Transforming Man could do. He stepped into the cave, knowing it was a trap. "All right, Atomizer," Transforming Man said, screaming out into the cave. "I know you have her. Just give her back." But the cave didn't respond. He walked deeper and deeper into the cave. It went so much deeper than he initially thought. Down. Eventually, the cave walls turned into steel, becoming a high-tech lab, like the arteries of a giant kaiju made out of steel. But he kept going deeper and deeper. He touched the walls, feeling the sense of transforming, but he didn't know if it was Riley doing the transforming or the Atomizer. He looked at his hands, and he turned the air in them into fire. He had killed the Atomizer, broken his rule of never killing to serve humanity because the Atomizer was too dangerous, and yet, "It's good to see you," the Atomizer said. Transforming Man whirled around, but the Atomizer wasn't there. "I've killed you once," Transforming Man said. "Give her back or I'll do it again." All preconception of being a superhero, of helping humanity, was gone. He was just thinking about his little girl. Was she okay? What happened? The Atomizer chuckled. "Is that what you really think is going to happen? That I'm just gonna give Riley back to you?" "Don't say her name!" the Transforming Man said. He couldn't believe how angry he got. He was looking through the steel cave and he couldn't see anything. There was a wisp of something. A wisp in the air. Transforming Man turned the air into ice, but it just crashed down all around him. He grit his teeth, looking, trying to decipher where the Atomizer was. But the Atomizer had the same powers that he did. Had he turned his body into air? Where was Riley? "What?" the Atomizer said. "I don't get to see her? I am her uncle, you know." Transforming Man saw a flicker and burned the air all around him. Atomizer jumped out of the air, transforming his body back into its physical form. He was alone, wearing the exact same costume he wore when Transforming Man killed him. He even had the giant blood stain from when Transforming Man turned his heart into steel. But Atomizer was laughing and smiling. What do you do when the superhero is so powerful you can't defeat him in single combat? Transforming Man screamed in rage. He created a giant rock out of the air and turned the tunnel into fire, threatening to collapse it all around them. But the Atomizer just disappeared into the air. "Riley!" Transforming Man screamed, but there was no answer. He ran deeper and deeper into the cave, not caring that his costume and his cape were burning away. It was easy for him to regenerate parts of his body as he went deeper and deeper. He was thinking about every time he thought she should learn how to use her powers, how she needed to defend herself, but how he wanted to give her a childhood. And now, maybe that childhood, maybe that thing that he gave her, that beautiful thing, meant that she was dead now, dead at the hands of the Atomizer. "What do you want?" Transforming Man said. He yelled into the darkness, but he knew the Atomizer was there. He just had to pick up on his form, find his gray costume somewhere in the atoms of the room. What you take away from a powerful superhero is you take away the thing that he loves. The thing that he loves so much that he would be willing to give it up forever. Suddenly the cave filled with lights. Transforming Man turned around and saw that the room was full of cameras recording him with red lights. "Welcome," the Atomizer said. He came into the room carrying a small form and a small sack. The sack was completely covered over the head. Transforming Man's eyes glowed with rage. "Riley?" Was she alive or dead? He didn't care. He had a split second. He flung fire and steel and stone at the Atomizer, but the Atomizer simply waved his hand. Transforming Man looked down at his hands, which had turned into gold. He grit his teeth, and he tried to transform his body, but transforming his body took time. The Atomizer, carrying the small sack, walked closer and closer and closer. "We were never brothers after coming down to this cave." Transforming Man tried to punch out with his golden hands, but the Atomizer easily blocked him, magneting his golden hands to each other and wrapping Transforming Man's lips in stone. You didn't care about our family after you became super. You didn't care about teaching me how to use your abilities. Transforming Man tried to speak, but he couldn't. He lashed out with his legs, with his golden hands that were transforming, but the atomizer easily pushed him to the ground and conjured a giant spear of fire out of the air, holding it high above him. And what do you do when I gain control of my powers and I tell you that we can control the world? You kill me. He stabbed down with the spear. The Transforming Man couldn't use his powers, but he had to rely on instinct. Atomizer was still holding the sack. Riley could still be alive in there. He dove for the Atomizer's legs, a move that he didn't expect. Transforming Man had been training every single day for this moment. He grabbed the Atomizer's leg and pulled out, but the Atomizer just laughed. He turned the floor into water and he pushed the Transforming Man's head down under it. You want to see if she's alive in here, don't you? The Atomizer said. Transforming Man's hands turned back to normal and he shot fire up at the Atomizer. But the Atomizer turned the air right in front of the sack into water, dousing the Transforming Man, leaving him soaking wet. The Atomizer snapped his fingers, and Transforming Man was suddenly captured entirely in gold. The Atomizer smiled. All right, ladies and gentlemen, he waved around to the cameras. It's time for the big reveal. Please don't do this, Transforming Man said. Just like all those years ago, the family that came down here, Atomizer smiled, is no more. He opened the sack and poured Riley's body out of it onto the floor. Transforming Man's scream could be heard from outside the cave, all over the city, and was broadcast all over the world. Riley's little form was so weak, so pale. He burst out of the gold. The Atomizer put his hands up and tried to fight back, but the Transforming Man simply flicked his finger and turned him entirely to stone. He ran to Riley and touched her face. He felt her pulse. It was faint. She wasn't breathing. Baby, Transforming Man said. He touched her body and tried to transform the atoms that were slowly dying back into atoms that were alive. It was difficult work, draining his life force, but he didn't care. He didn't care if he drained all of his life force into her, if she could just be alive for one more moment. Baby, I'm so sorry I didn't train you for this. Transforming Man thought he saw color returning to Riley's cheeks, but he wasn't sure. I'm sorry that Daddy spent too much time being a superhero and not enough time helping you. I'm sorry. Transforming Man's tears came out. Riley's cheeks were definitely getting warmer now, but it could be too late. She wasn't breathing. He did CPR on her. Come on, baby, Transforming Man said. Please. He didn't even look at the Atomizer's stone form. He had killed him without a second thought. Killed his brother one more time. But the only thing that mattered in this moment was Riley. Come on, baby. Please. He went deep, using all of his power, going into her body's atoms and finding something new. A life atom. A soul atom. What was the secret between being alive and being dead? Just 21 grams that fade from a body after death. Transforming Man took out the 21 grams of his own body and put them into Riley's body. He collapsed to the ground, but as Riley sat up, as she looked at him lying on the floor and up at her uncle, her estranged uncle that had tried to kill her, she looked down at Transforming Man and sighed. Transforming Man gasped for air. That was impossible. Matter could not be created or destroyed, and yet Riley's eyes were glowing. She smiled. Hi, Daddy, Riley said. Transforming Man wept, and he hugged his daughter for all the world to see. It didn't matter that he was a superhero that helped millions of people. The only person that Transforming Man really needed was in this room, hugging him with all of her might.